Welcome to the latest episode of Energonomics. This is your host, Richa Mishra. In this episode, we talk about the year gone by and what are the stakes in 2026. My guest in this episode is Lauri Myllyvirta, the co-founder of Center for Research on Energy and Clean Air. Thank you, Lauri, for sparing this time and joining us in our Energonomics episode. That is the last episode of 2025. In the series, what we try to do is discuss issues and challenges which the sector, the industry is going through. Lauri, you have been, or you found yourself in thick of things as far as India is concerned with one term which your report used as called laundromat. So before we start discussing on the findings, the impact, I would like to understand from you as a researcher, as an analyst, what does geopolitics imply for the energy sector overall?
Certainly, this decade has been the return of geopolitics. I think the energy sector saw a brief period of where we could imagine that business is business and politics is politics, and you can trade across geopolitical blocks and so on. But that certainly came to a halt, starting with the antics of the first Trump administration, and then especially Russia's invasion of Ukraine, when geopolitics started to drive volumes and prices and investment decisions and everything else in a way that we hadn't seen before that. Right now, the cat and mouse game with Russian oil trying to make its way to the markets in countries that want to support Ukraine in its fight for survival is one clear example of that. And of course, another one is the concerns about the supply chains of different energy technologies and so on, which have continued to intensify.
So, having said so, a question that comes into mind, and like I remember, even I reached out to you with strong wordings like, how can you say use the term laundromat as far as India is concerned? Remember our first conversation when we had after that report. So what? I bring you to the latest statement which came from President Putin, where he said that, who is US or anyone to talk about it? I mean, I'm just paraphrasing his statement just to get the gist of it. But they are themselves buying nuclear fuel from me, and they're asking India not to buy. So, in the context of a country like ours, like India, which is majorly dependent on fossil fuel for imported fossil fuel, do you think it was more of a bullying tactics from likes of America that, we can pressurize India, so we will do it? And you found India coming of age?
So yeah, for the background, we've been tracking Russia's fossil fuel imports since the start of the full-scale invasion in 2022. And the aim of that work has been to enable those countries that do want to put pressure on Russia to be more effective with their measures and with their sanctions. And so when the EU finally, after a pretty long delay, got over to banning most direct imports of crude oil and refined oil from Russia, then what we saw happening was this rerouting of Russian crude to the refineries in Turkey, in China, in India, and other countries that were then refining it and exporting some of that to the EU market and other markets that had sanctioned or banned the direct imports. And so when we first released our findings about that, we used the word laundromat to describe what was happening. And I will say upfront that that was a tone deaf wording from us. So if you read the full report, you will see that we made it very, very clear that what's happening was legal at the moment, both in India and in terms of international law and in terms of the laws of the importing countries. And the gist of the report was that those countries that want to be effective with their sanctions on Russia need to restrict these flows. It was not condemning Indian refiners for exploiting or making use of what was a completely legal arbitrage opportunity created by the patchwork of bans and sanctions. But so the word laundromat, of course, the way that the world works is not that people will read the full report and form their balanced opinion, and we did not consider how that or realize how that word in the headline would come across in India as being blamed for, of course, other types of laundering. Money laundering is a very serious offense. So that was a very clear communications blunder from us.
But this brings me to my next question, and which you're very closely involved with, is also the energy transition process. When we're talking energy transition, particularly, I'm being more India specific again. We are recently talking about nuclear also. We're talking small nuclear reactors also. So in the whole energy transition process, which India is talking about, what, according to you, would be the key things that India has to keep in mind as it goes ahead?
Well, first of all, India's made enormous headway, especially in the power sector, in the past couple of years. So this year we'll see the largest addition of clean power generation, driven above all by solar, but including also a small addition of nuclear capacity and so on record. And this is bound to be followed up by even larger additions in the next few years as the country makes its way towards the 500 gigawatt non-fossil power target. And so getting to those levels of clean electricity growth that India is now heading towards is really the first step in starting to shift to clean energy. Then the next steps there are still big obstacles or big challenges with the power grid to be able to absorb these additions. So thermal power plants need to be operated more flexibly. Some of them need technical changes to be able to do that, but especially they need economic incentives to operate more flexibly, ramp production up and down in response to the changes in the availability of solar and other clean electricity. And then when the electricity sector is starting to make good progress, then the other step is making use of that clean electricity to clean up the other sectors. So there's already been an uptick in the sales of electric vehicles, and it will also create opportunities for cleaning up the industrial sector when you do have clean electricity that can replace the use of fossil fuels. And India being highly dependent on imports for oil and gas, that's of course the big opportunity also for energy security, that you'll be able to use clean electricity to replace the use of oil and gas.
When we talk India, we can't do away without talking coal. We have it in
Absolutely.
abundance. We are using technology now. There's of course a debate that there's nothing called clean coal, and coal will be dirty. But of course, there's other side of it where people are saying that use of technology can work. So, do you see a point where we will completely do away with coal, or our dependence on coal will continue?
I think right now, if you look at the range of, or it's much more important to look at the range of scenarios than saying a specific one that coal will make 0.5% or 10% of the energy mix once you do reach carbon neutrality, because that's still a 90 to 99% reduction from current levels, right? So the really important thing is getting on that downward path. It's clear that if you want to retain some coal in the energy mix as a part of the carbon neutral energy system, that will then mean deploying carbon capture and storage, which is not a quick thing to do, and hasn't really even been started in India. So the first thing is getting on that downward path, and then figuring out what the optimal mix will be. The much more imminent question in India about making coal cleaner or less dirty is air pollution. And so there was recently a major step back where the emission standards for sulfur dioxide were dismantled for a lot of the thermal power plant fleet. So that's a very clear opportunity where we have very, very clear evidence from other countries that requiring coal-fired power plant operators to install sulfur dioxide control equipment results in major improvements in air quality across a wide area, and that is still an opportunity for India to make coal cleaner in the short term. And if you can't manage to do that, which is much easier and less costly than capturing the carbon dioxide, then talking about carbon capture sounds like science fiction.
Just to sum up for us, Lauri, 2026, what, not only in India, but globally also, what will be the challenges to watch out for in the energy space?
I think, well, the big opportunities are the big pipeline of clean energy that India has managed to build, and the precipitous drop in the cost of especially solar and battery electric storage, which has now become a commercially viable way to integrate more solar, especially into the power grid, much faster than anyone imagined. And of course, the drop in the cost of batteries also means that electric vehicles become attractive to consumers much sooner than anyone really predicted a few years ago. In terms of challenges, of course, the cat and mouse game that we referred to on oil continues. So the EU's ban on importing refined oil products from produced from Russian crude oil enters into force in January. The U.S. sanctions on some of the Russian oil majors have just entered into force in November, and December has still seen cargoes arriving in India that were loaded before those sanctions took effect, and so on. So all of that will see the oil market being rearranged as well. And from the point of view of Europe, the key aim of all of this is to drive a wedge between Russia's selling price for oil and the international market price to reduce Russia's earnings. So it most likely doesn't mean that the volumes drop. It means that the discount forced on Russia is maintained or increased. And then for India, how do you balance that? Do you manage to extract more of a discount? How do you manage the pressure from the US, such as it is, and so on? Certainly, those challenges will continue.
The issues or the challenges, more or less, the narrative remains the same. And it again brings us down the whole thing to how the geopolitics, pans out. And over the years, we have seen that all major conflicts and wars have led to energy space. I mean, like whether we are talking today or we're talking yesterday, we saw what happened in Iran, we saw what happened in Iraq, we're seeing what is happening in the Ukraine-Russia conflict. So, everything boils down to the energy space and the dynamics. Before I let you go, in all this, I have to ask you this. In all this tensions which we are seeing, where does China stand?
For China, the big lesson from the two Trump administrations and from the other geopolitical factors has been that they want to work on energy security. It really took the front stage in 2019 with a speech from the then premier, and since then that's been the driving force, and that has meant massive investment in clean electricity, both the supply chains and deployment. That has meant massive investment in electricity storage, in electrification on all fronts, whether it's transportation or industry or households. And that has also meant trying to squeeze more oil and gas and coal out of domestic producers. That has meant also investing in otherwise questionable things, just as conversion of coal into liquid and gases, petrochemical products, and so on. But energy security is the driving theme, and the interesting questions are: so China's exports of those clean technologies have now started to drive a much faster global transition than anyone imagined, whether it's in sub-Saharan Africa. Pakistan has seen a dramatic solar boom, as you know, and many other places. So how does that change China's positioning? They now have the opportunity to cast themselves as the provider of solutions and a leader in this industrial space, and I think it's driving a narrative of a new type of pro-development, pro-economic growth approach to the energy transition and to climate change as well, which is super interesting. And at the same time, of course, China is very close to Russia and has been the largest buyer of Russian fossil fuels and so on. So a lot of different hats and roles, but the clean energy boom in China has certainly changed the outlook for the entire global energy market, and for the most part for the better.
Basically, both India and China are going to play a very important role in their own way. One more as a consumer, the other maybe as a provider in a different category of energy space. Yeah, that's a very positive note to end on, that the dynamics actually changing in the energy space. And there are other countries which are now also playing important role. India once upon a time was never considered as one of the major players, despite not having that many resources. But today it is. And China, really showing its might in another segment of energy space. So thank you so much, Lauri, for sparing this time with us. And from Team Business Line, a very happy and prosperous 2026 to you.
You too as well, Richa. Thank you.
Thank you. This is all we have in this episode of Energonomics. We wish all of you a very prosperous and successful year ahead. Your feedbacks are always welcome. If you want us to improve further in 2026, do leave your feedback in the comment section below. A very happy new year from Team Business Line. Thank you.